Welcome to the Red River Paddlecast. I'm your host, Brad Friesen. In this episode, I sit down with someone who's pushed the limits on whitewater kayaking and ultra-distance paddling. Sean Stoesz is an accomplished whitewater kayaker, a seasoned racer, and the current fastest known paddler on the Red River from Emerson to Lockport. We're going to dig into his journey, his mindset, and the experiences that shaped him on and off the river. Let's get into it. We're here with Sean Stoesz from Manitoba, one of the longest running Red River paddlers who's, I think every year Sean paddles using a different boat. So this year it'll be interesting to see if he used the same boat or a new boat. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing, Brad?
Not too bad. So for those that don't know, Sean and I, we go quite a ways back, paddling buddies, and figured this is the first episode of this new Red River Paddlecast. Why not have Sean on the show? So welcome, Sean.
Thank you. I'm honored.
I know you started off kayaking as a whitewater kayaker. So why don't you just quickly give us a bit of an intro on how you got into paddling?
Yeah, I guess, minor canoeing as a youngster kind of thing, but not seriously into paddling till probably I was mid 40s. And we have a cottage on the Bird River, and we often hike up the river. There's a set of rapids there. There's quite a few sets of rapids. And I always thought we'd go up to Bird Lake to Tullaby Falls, and it's kind of the start of the lower section of the Bird River. And I always thought it would be cool, super cool to just like go to Bird Lake, put in there, and then just paddle back to my cottage. And obviously the rapids in between would pose a challenge. So, it was just in the back of my mind all this time. And then one day I was scrolling through Instagram and I found these guys paddling through this one section called the Canyon. So reached out to them through DM. They weren't getting back to me. And then eventually I found a fellow by the name of Stephen Walker, who was running a company called Prairie Whitewater at the time. And he was offering whitewater lessons. And he was one of the guys in the photos. So basically linked up with him, asked both my boys if they wanted to go for this whitewater lesson. And my oldest was a little bit hesitant. My youngest was all in. So we went for the whitewater lesson. My youngest son, Tegan, he was a natural at it. He was peeling out of eddies, just having a blast. I spent the entire lesson upside down and swimming in the water. So
that would be me too, probably.
Yeah, I didn't gravitate to it like him. So at the end of the lesson, I remember walking with Steven and saying, Tegan is obviously grasping this very well, and I'd like for him to continue. But as far as for myself, I think this is the end of the line. And that was that. And then went back home that night, and, I sat and thought about it. And I said, well, how's Tegan going to learn how to do this kayaking if he doesn't have somebody to do it with him? Because whitewater kayaking, especially, it's frowned upon to be paddling solo. So I decided to stick it out. And I think the next weekend we drove out to Calgary, bought a couple of whitewater boats, all the gear, convinced my wife to let us do that. I said, this will be the end of it. Once we just buy this one boat and this one PFD, we'll never have to buy anything ever again. Yeah. And we just exploded from there, and we got into it. Paddled everywhere from the Ottawa to BC, Washington State, and throughout the States. And the whitewater thing just took off. So that would have been my start into paddling.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've been on a bunch of, I know you've been on a bunch of adventures across North America and whatnot. What's one of the most memorable experiences or rivers or expeditions you've been on so far?
Oh man, that's a tough one. As far as whitewater is concerned, yeah, man, it's ever changing. I think I've heard somebody answer that question a little while ago, and they said, what's your favorite river to paddle? And they're like, well, it's the last one I paddled. Because it's every experience, every river is always pretty special, especially in whitewater. Probably the most influential rivers that I've ever paddled would be the Seal River in northern Manitoba. Did that with the whitewater crew there a couple of years back. We flew into Dooley Lake and paddled for 6 days to the Hudson Bay, seeing seals, polar bears at the bay, beluga whales out in the bay as we were, getting picked up with our shuttle.
There.
Yeah, but the thing that blew me away up there was just how pristine and how untouched it is. Big, long rapids. Don't normally get that in Manitoba. It's primarily at pool drop style rivers, and the seal, yeah, just big long rapids, pristine, untouched wilderness.
Yeah, definitely a bucket list trip, that's for sure. Did you have any close encounters with bears or any other wildlife up there?
So we saw our first sign of bear 2 nights from the bay. So basically, when you start to see the paw prints in the sand, when you pull up on the beaches and stuff, that's when you want to start to have bear watch. So you want to have somebody staying up at night, just kind of watching camp, taking shifts. So we had to start doing that 2 nights away from the bay. Fortunately, we didn't have any bears coming to camp. And then once you get to Hudson Bay, there's a cabin there. It's called Jack's Cabin, and that's where you wait for a boat shuttle to come pick you up because they discourage you trying to paddle to Churchill. You don't want to paddle out into the Hudson Bay. But there's a cabin built there, so you can kind of have refuge while you wait, because sometimes the bay can be rough and the shuttle you could be stuck there for a couple of days. When we got to the cabin, sure enough, I think we had about 2 or 3 bears on the other side of the Seal River at the mouth into the Hudson Bay. So we were watching them, and yeah, they were a safe distance away. And
you still want to keep an eye on them because they can swim.
definitely, we learned that. So the whole time we were on the Seal, it was raining. We didn't have like, we weren't able to start fires. We would basically get to camp and isolate in tents, but never a fire. So we couldn't burn any of our garbage or any of that kind of stuff. So we had to, like, from the bag meals, we had to keep that with us the whole time. So when we got to Jack's cabin, we thought, well, there's a stove in there. Here's our opportunity. We're waiting for our shuttle. Let's start burning some of these bag meals. So, we started the fire and we put it in, and there's a set of binoculars inside Jack's cabin where you can watch the bears. And we had this fire going, and I was out on the deck, and I'm watching this one bear across the river, and I saw him scent the smoke, and he's on the other side of the river, but he scented those bag meals, and he just like looked at me through the binoculars. I swear he probably wasn't, but it sure felt that way. And he looks at and just starts beelining for us. So
No.
I'm watching him come down to the bank, and I'm saying to the guys, I think we got a bear coming. And everyone's like, no. And then I'm watching, and sure enough, he enters the Seal River, and I think tide was going out at this time. So as he entered the river, it really took him downstream. So we kind of lost track of him for a bit, and we're all out there watching. And sure enough, all of a sudden we look to our left, and there he is, just standing there looking at us. So he's probably, at this point, maybe about 75 yards from the cabin.
Yikes. Wow.
Yeah. So I went into lockdown. I went into the cabin, shut all the doors. The guys went up on the roof because you can get up on the roof. I felt I didn't need to have that close of an encounter, but they were up there, and he came probably to about 50 feet from the cabin, stood up on his hind legs, scratched his back on a willow tree, and then he lied down and went to bed. And
he just slept there.
He slept there, and we had to go to bed knowing there was a polar bear like just outside.
That must have been nerve-wracking, waking up in the morning, not knowing if the bear's still sleeping or hiding around.
Yeah. There was no midnight bathroom breaks, and the first guy out the door in the morning was definitely risking it for the team.
Shortest straw.
Yeah.
How tall was the roof? Like, is it something if the bear wanted, he could have stood up on his back legs and reached up to claw at you guys, or?
He wouldn't have been able to get on the roof. The cabin's up on stilts. Like it was they had an extension ladder to get up there. So I want to say to the eaves, it's probably around 14 to 16 feet. But I feel like this cabin that's built, it kind of gives you a false sense of security, because as I'm sitting in there and knowing this bear is outside, I'm a carpenter and I'm looking at the construction of the building, and it's got 1/2-inch plywood on 16-inch center studs. You see these bear paws all over the outside, and it's like these bears can break through how much feet of ice to hunt for their prey. And here I feel like I'm safe because I got 1/2-inch plywood in between me and a 900-pound bear.
False sense of security there.
Yeah, but luckily nothing. He went to bed, and then he left us in the morning, and then there was a couple more. At that time of the year, it was August, and I believe the polar bears are kind of in a scavenging mode. They like to conserve their calories because it's harder to get to their food. So it's like almost like a reverse hibernation state where they don't aggressively hunt anything because it just takes up too much of their energy. So they just walk the shoreline, look for dead fish and dead belugas and that kind of stuff. So they're not aggressive
Easy
at that
snacks,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky for you. Yeah. Well, that sounds amazing. One day I need to do a trip up there, whether it's the Seal or another northern Manitoba river. They're all amazing. I don't know that I'd
Yeah.
ever do them on a paddleboard, but maybe a canoe or maybe I'll get back into
Well,
a kayak. Who knows?
might be a first D on a paddleboard, my friend. Or maybe you should go for it.
Yeah. Pretty gnarly conditions on a paddleboard up there. Awesome. So, I mean, alongside all the whitewater kayaking and the adventures you do there, you've certainly started to carve out a name for yourself in the distance and ultra paddle racing. So, yeah, I know you started, I think your first race was the Red River Paddle Challenge
Yes.
back in, I want to say, was it 2020? Was that your first year or 2021?
2021, I believe.
Yeah,
Can't remember.
so that's at least 5 paddle challenges, 5
Yeah.
different boats. Sounds about right.
Yeah, they're all behind me there.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you came from the whitewater kayaking background. What drew you into the Red River Paddle Challenge and getting into paddle racing?
Yeah, I think, again, Manitoba's whitewater, with the exception of the stuff in the southern portion, but most of the northern trips or the northern whitewater is multi-day style, right? So you're going for like, 4 days, 5 days, getting dropped off by a plane, paddling to a takeout location, other different types of logistics. The fellow that I was paddling with, he always liked to scheme up crazy trip ideas. And it would usually involve pretty intensive long days, speed descents of like whitewater runs up in northern Manitoba. But again, the style is pull drop. So you often find yourself paddling 2 to 10 kilometers to get to the next rapid. So for the adrenaline junkie whitewater paddler, it's usually a deterrent. It's not as exciting. But I found myself, I don't know what it was, but I just found myself enjoying those flat water sections in between. The whitewater's fun, don't get me wrong, but it can be nerve-wracking sometimes, especially in the remote areas. So maybe I found solitude in these flat water sections. I don't know what it was, but enjoying just the athletic aspect of it.
You're paddling a smaller boat, so if you've got a long flat water stretch, that can be quite challenging.
Yeah,
Paddling a
you're
shorter boat.
talking 9-foot creeker on a multi-day loaded. You're talking flat water speeds of like 4 to 5K an hour,
No flow there, I guess.
no flow. Usually headwinds, no flow.
Of course. It's Manitoba. There has
Yeah,
to be a headwind.
totally. But yeah, so I kind of found myself enjoying, just putting in distance. And at around that same time, there was a film made called Chased by the Midnight Sun. You may be
I think
familiar
I heard of that
with
one.
it.
Yes, I am. I know a couple of the people in it.
So I watched that and I was instantly, and it's a movie, for those that don't know, it's a movie about the Yukon River Quest. Local sup legend Brad Friesen had a cameo appearance in there. But I watched the film and I was just like blown away by it. I just thought to myself, like, I need to do this. And actually, I think you were supposed to do a presentation on it at one of the paddleboard places or somewhere
Hopper
in town.
shop there. Hopper was going to have a screening of it, and then
there was a
the
blizzard
world
that
shut
night.
down. Was it blizzard or I forget?
Yeah,
If it was blizzard or
I think it was
COVID,
a
but
blizzard because
it was
I had
blizzard,
I had a concert that night and I was going to go to the presentation and go to a concert. They both got canceled. But anyway, so I watched the film on YouTube. Like I say, it just it reached out to me in the biggest way, and I thought to myself, I need to do this, and I need to figure out how to do it. And so I think I requested you on Instagram and sent you a DM, and then I think the two of us went for a paddle out on the Winnipeg River. And yeah, I think that's pretty much where it was born. Just starting to paddle alongside you, pick your brain about all the aspects of it, and then just learning about all the other races from there and just stem from one to the other.
I try to remember the first time we did that Winnipeg River route. What you were paddling? Maybe you were in a dagger, I forget. And then I know your first
No,
paddle challenge you got wasn't a dagger, something else, plastic boat.
it was my I want to, or maybe it was a Stratos. I don't know. I think it was my Whitewater 12R, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world because it could do about 7K an hour. And I remember you saying, "Well, what would you use for the Yukon River Quest?" I'm like, "Well, what's wrong with this boat?" Not knowing anything about what there was out there. So I was young and naive.
You've done paddle challenge, and every year, I guess your gear evolves and changes. I know you've changed boats. You've done some other races in between the paddle challenge here in Winnipeg. What other events have you gone and participated in?
I've done be the MR 140, 145, 150. It's a race on the Mississippi River. I've done that 3 times now. 2 years in low water, 1 year in high water.
That's a
Done
good
chatted.
race for the Minnesota race. That's a great race for especially people here in Manitoba. It's close to home,
It's a phenomenal race.
which is nice.
Yeah. Living in the center of Canada, we often have to drive multiple days to get to any kind of an event. It's either 24 hours west or 24 hours east. So having the Mississippi River paddle is just great. You can leave after work on Thursday, get there for Friday morning. The race starts in the afternoon. You can finish by Saturday afternoon, Saturday night maybe, and then you're on your way home Sunday kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're getting a pretty substantial ultra distance race in a weekend. So for Manitobans,
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
that's hard
It's
to come
nice, nice rate, good scenery. The organizers, they do a good job too. I think I've gone every year now. Last year
Yeah.
I was your support crew. The only year I didn't race, but yeah, which was another adventure on its own, being support crew,
by. Yeah.
which was awesome. And then you said you also did Chattajack. That
Yeah.
was 2 years ago. I went with you.
Yeah. Chattajack blew me away. Just the whole environment. Coming into the town, Chattanooga is a beautiful little town. And then coming into the marina area there and just seeing all the boats just blew me away. And then the start, being lined up with all those boats and having a guy sitting on the back of a boat with a shotgun as the starting.
Yeah,
the
that
s-
event's crazy. Hundreds
yeah,
of people on
yeah,
the river starting at once in multiple boats, and yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely
There's
it's a bucket list race if you haven't been down
a couple different heats, I guess, but I think all together, the year I did it, there was 700 and something paddlers. So
there. Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it was, and it's the Tennessee Gorge is just absolutely beautiful. I mean, you get taken away by that. The year I did it, there was a lot of boat traffic, sea-doos, and that kind of stuff. So that makes it a little more challenging as well, just to stay upright. Yeah, Chattajack. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you're looking at when you're doing these races, what's your training philosophy? How do you prepare yourself physically and mentally before going and just showing up? Or maybe you do, maybe just show up and that's your style.
Well, last year's Mississippi River race, I committed to the race on Wednesday, and I had not
And it
done
started on
any.
the Friday.
It started on the Friday. I don't recommend it. I paid the price for it. I feel like I did fairly well, but I definitely paid the price with an injury after just going into a race of that magnitude without preparing for it. But typically, I used to just really focus on spending lots of time on the water. I had really no interest in any other thing but that. That's how I prepared. The first time I did Yukon River Quest, we haven't touched on that yet, but the first time I did the Yukon River Quest, I just paddled a lot. It was as much time as I could get on the water. That's how I felt I would train for that race. And I'd like to say pretty much every other race would be the same format up until this year. I'm currently training for the Yukon 1000, and thanks to yourself, I have a training plan in place, which involves strength training in the gym. It involves cross training sessions, a different zone interval training, a stretching day, and I'm blown away by it. I'm having a lot of fun in the gym sessions. I've never been a person to ever really commit to working out indoors. All my athletics, it's what being outside is what's really attracted me to all this kind of stuff, and being in the great
Yeah.
outdoors, that kind of stuff. So working out on a rower is really a hard thing for me. But for some reason, the strength sessions I became a member at our gym in Selkirk, and
Nice.
I'm
Yeah,
really
it's a
enjoying.
nice change of pace to things, I find.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so basically that's a stretching day on Wednesday and a rest day on Sunday. But other than that, every day has some type of a workout. The rivers are open now, so I can get back to paddling. I've been on the water 3 times now since
So just interesting with you, you've been on the water 3 times now. How have you felt those first 3 times this year versus your first, paddles of the years in previous years?
Definitely with the strength training, I'm noticing a difference as far as if that's what you're asking about. Like,
Yeah,
um,
just curious.
yeah, I
'Cause it sounds
definitely,
like you've changed your training approach over the off season, right? Our winter, our never-ending
yeah,
winter, which I know you do a lot of other cross training as well, cross country skiing
yeah.
as
So,
well.
the Nordic skiing was big this year. I committed to a lot of that. But I just feel having a structured training plan is definite. I feel like I'm like months ahead of where I was previously, like, because Yukon River Quest, you're pretty much in the same boat. The race is maybe 3 weeks sooner, but you're having to find stuff to do in the winter for training because you can't paddle. And I just feel like, even though I felt I was in good shape for the last Yukon River Quest, I feel like I could enter the race right now physically. There's lots of other things that I need to do to prepare for the Yukon 1000, but I'd be comfortable to enter the race tomorrow physically.
The Yukon 1000, that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Which we haven't really talked about that one. That's, I guess that's next on your adventure list
Yeah.
this year coming up. So that's what you're training for, the big one, the Yukon 1000. So for those that don't know, that's 1,000 miles, not kilometers. So what's that, like 1,600 kilometers, something
Yeah.
like that? It's a lot. It's a lot. And that race starts in Whitehorse and goes all the way up the Yukon River through the Arctic Circle into Alaska. It's a pretty phenomenal race. I did that one in 2022, and I'm so jealous, man. You guys are gonna have such an amazing time. I can't wait. Can't wait to hear the story and follow the dots along. Tell us about it. What are you looking forward to? What are you anything you're
So
nervous about?
I definitely got some nerves. I think what inspired me to kind of do the Yukon 1000 was due to my performance at the Yukon River Quest. So during the 2022 Yukon River Quest, the river was in flood. They were not wanting to cancel the race because they had canceled it in 2021, I believe. And I feel like the organization got some backlash from international paddlers that had come out. So instead of going that route this time, they were really trying to discourage people from coming to do the race because of the dangerous conditions. With having a whitewater background, I wasn't nervous. But then when I got out there and noticed the power of that river, it was a little different. So, anyways, got really nervous leading up to the race the night before, didn't sleep a wink. Went into the race having zero sleep the night before. And I think I just kind of collapsed mentally. The river was definitely dangerous. Having the whitewater background, knowing the dangers and the hazards that were around me, I felt it just wasn't a safe place to be. And I pulled out just before Carmax there. I believe it's Big salmon or
Okay,
little
yeah.
salmon. I can't remember which one. But anyways, yeah. And that stung like nobody's business. I felt at the time it was the right decision. I just wasn't mentally in the right space to be on that kind of water and pulled out. But just as the days, months, years went on, I needed to go back and get redemption kind of thing. So I've had that on my mind for a while now to get back there. And I believe our friend Darwin Weeb wanted to do the Yukon 1000, and we started talking about it. And, and then I thought, well, I need redemption. My redemption is to get to Dawson City. If I if I if I do the Yukon River Quest again and finish it, uh,
It's almost
then
halfway.
then I'm still gonna want to do the Yukon 1000 after. So I might as well just do the
You
1000 and
will.
get it all done in in one shot. That's kind of what
Yeah,
inspired.
there's so much more to see, and I think that if you were doing the Yukon River Quest, knowing with thought, maybe I'll do the 1,000 one day, you're gonna get to Dawson, and you're gonna wanna know what's around that next bend. So, I think you made the right choice and just jumped into the 1,000.
Yeah, and also just with everything that's been going on in the River Quest, like with the fires and like it's either flooding, fires, low.
A lot of bad luck there, eh?
Yeah. Whereas the 1000 just seems to be rolling like right along.
Hard to say because they're getting the fires early and late. They're getting the flooding early. So it's hard to say. Like when we did the 2022 when I was on the 1000, it was the flood year, the year you did the Yukon River Quest.
Yeah.
And it was super floods, but there was also fires. And and you got your safety kit and your safety kit for the Yukon 1000, they tell you got to bring a smoke like a smoke mask and goggles, swim goggles. Right?
that's kind of ridiculous. Why would I need that? But then when we got there, like, wow, I'm sure glad I brought this because you're paddling alongside forest fires and there's thick smoke and you're inhaling all this smoke and yeah, it's hard on you.
Yeah.
So make sure you pack those. Well, they'll do the safety check and they'll check, but yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely hopefully you don't need it. Hopefully you don't need it, but
Here's hoping.
there's hope. Yeah. So that's awesome. I'm looking forward to the 1000 and I'm sure everyone here is going to be following along and cheering you on. So when you're out in the river, know that people are watching a dot and they're looking at you. If you're not moving, if you're not hitting, over 10K an hour,
Yeah.
then we know you're dogging it and
Well,
picking
I
up.
I notoriously have a bad habit of not appearing on tracking devices, so hopefully that doesn't
That's
happen
true.
again.
Yeah. As a race director and you've paddled my races, I know.
I don't know what it is. I'm not compatible.
Sherry, she's always messaging, where's Sean? Is he finished? I'm at the finish with his stuff. She's looking
It's
for you.
on the Mississippi. It seems to happen every year where, for some reason, my tracker never works, and then my mom's panicking, and everybody's panicking. Where's Sean? Where's Sean?
Yeah, difference in trackers, cell phone tracker versus satellite tracker. The
Yeah.
satellite is always
Uh,
it's always going to be better and more accurate. But yeah, the races that still have those trackers, it's good. It's helpful for when they work. People know
Yeah.
where you checkpoint and cheer you on and bring you whatever your favorite snack is, like a Jimmy John sub. I know you like those. So yeah, you've done a bunch of the Whitewater we talked about, your paddle races, but you've also done just a lot of your own personal adventures. And I know I've been a part of some of them. I wasn't a part of this one. Well, I guess I was. You are the current record holder, the fastest known paddler to complete the Red River from Emerson to Lockport, 200 kilometers. And you completed that in, what was it? I got here on my notes, 28 hours and 48 minutes to go 200 kilometers. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What were you thinking? What inspired you to come up with a challenge like that and go out and set that record?
I think it stemmed from just always going bigger and better kind of thing. But I think you and I had been chatting earlier on in our friendship and talking about paddling from the border to the forks, because that sort of seemed to be like an iconic paddle, like a good takeout point. And I think we were chatting about it and kind of planning it, and then we had planned to do it, and I can't remember what happened on your end, but you had to pull out, and I thought to myself, well, I'm just going to do it. I think at that time that was when I was really keen on doing the Yukon River Quest, and having to paddle through the night was something I was going to have to learn to do. And so I thought, well, here we go. And I think I put on at the border at like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or something that day, and off I went. And through the evening, that on that first attempt, I had made a bunch of espresso to basically get me through the night. I think I paddled up until about 9 or 10 o'clock, and then I thought, well, I'm going to change into warmer clothes for the night, so I pulled off to the side, and I think I put a dry suit on, or I changed the layers under my dry suit because it was going to go down to about -2 that night, I believe. And yeah, and so I tried to take some coffee at that time, and I couldn't get into my thermos, and I thought, you know what, I'll try later. Something's wrong with my thermos. I couldn't open the lid, and so I started paddling, and then I started to get kind of sleepy, and I thought, well, I'll try my espresso, and I just couldn't get it open. And I don't know what it was. It was some kind of a vacuum seal on the swell thermos, but I had no other source of caffeine. I had like 8 shots of espresso in that thermos, and so yeah, I had to just keep paddling, and I felt myself like nodding off, and then I was starting to watch the banks, and in the southern portion, the banks are really steep. And I thought, well, if I end up in this water, it's -2. This could become a pretty scary situation pretty fast. And I think I made it to the Santa Gath Bridge. Is it?
Yeah,
Santa Gath or Santa Dolph?
Santa Gath.
Santa Gath.
Well, they're close together. I think it was Santa Gath.
Yeah.
Because Santa Dolph has a boat launch. No, Santa Gath has a boat launch. Sorry, Santa Dolph is just the
Santa
bridge.
Dolph. That's the bridge. I made it too, and
yeah.
I had to give my wife a call and tell her to come pick me up because I was falling asleep on the river. So
I'm sure she was impressed getting that call.
Yeah, no, it's definitely didn't enjoy driving, an hour at 4 in the morning to come pick me up off under some bridge. So again, dealing with failure wasn't fun, and I think not even a month later, I decided to give her another go and got her done. So that was the border to the Forks, which was like 170 kilometers. So then you always start dreaming bigger. And we sold our house and moved into Lockport, got a place on the river. And I thought, well, wouldn't that be a cool paddle to paddle from the border back to my house? So I think it was late in August. The river was low. No, actually, it was closer to a birthday paddle of mine. Every year on my birthday, I like to kind of do something a little crazy, and that was that year. So it was probably around like September 8th or something, I think. And off I went, and super low water, but I had pretty favorable weather, no storms, no big winds. It was pretty straightforward, other than getting tired. I think I got to the Manitoba Paddling Association there on Churchill Drive. And I think it was about, I want to say like 3 a.m. or something, or 4 a.m. And I kind of just rolled up on the dock, rolled myself out of my boat, had Bambi legs, so I couldn't really stand up, and just lied there on the dock for about 15 minutes, kind of little refresher, and then got back in my boat and finished off the paddle. So,
No one noticed you there?
nobody noticed me. No, there was I guess a guy across the river. He was kind of hooting and hollering. I think he was
That'll happen
went
on
on
the
a
red in Winnipeg.
yeah. I think he was on a trip. Yeah. So I did the 200 kilometers, and it was like 28 hours, and we registered it with FKP, and it got featured in Paddling magazine. Yeah.
Celebrity Sean here. Yeah. That was pretty cool to pull open the magazine and there's Sean.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it actually.
Bit of a surprise, yeah.
Yeah, one of the other people from the community reached out to me to tell me that my name was in there and the article was there, so it was cool.
That whole stretch, like I know, is it different. The river changes a bit. Were there any surprises on the routes that maybe on the first time versus the second time versus the third? Anything
Yeah,
stand out?
I think the first time for sure, due to low water. I didn't really know the route the greatest, but I'd spoke with other paddlers from the area, like from Winnipeg, that have paddled on it, and it's pretty much straightforward. Watch out for wood if you're in current. But the first time I did it, as I was paddling through the night, all of a sudden I could hear a rapid, and I thought, what the heck? Like, there's no rapids on the red, and it's the middle of the night. I can't see anything. Fortunately, at nighttime, Whitewater gets very well illuminated. So as I'm coming up to this rapid, I could see where the green water was, where the Whitewater was, and I basically just pointed my boat towards the green water and kind of ran through the rapid. But I definitely got the heart pumping in the middle of the night when you don't expect a rapid, and all of a sudden there is one there, kind of thing.
What class rapid would you say it was?
Oh, it would, if you saw it during the daytime, it would be class 1, maybe, if that.
Yeah.
But like
when
I say,
you're
it
sleep
just,
deprived and showing up at night.
yeah, fatigued, all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Cool. So no big waterfall. There are no waterfalls on the Red River.
not anymore.
So I know you paddle on the Red a lot. Well, you live on it. If someone wanted to go out there and try and tackle your record of the Red River 200, what would they need to know?
They need to know that it's completely doable. I did it on a very low water day, which can go two ways. I feel like when you're trying to set an FKP, especially on the Red River, low water is safe water. There's not going to, with the exception, like I say, there's some rapids that get exposed, some sand or mud bars, I guess you could say, that get exposed, but it's not as pushy. So you can, in good conscience, paddle through the night and not have to worry. Now, for instance, right now, I'd be very nervous to paddle through the night. So, I feel like if somebody wanted to beat it, pretty much anything other than low water is going to be a great time to do it. But just you'd have to be careful with the nighttime paddling when there's lots of flow. There's lots of trees to worry about. So if the water is really pushy, especially in those southern portions, big deadheads, like massive root balls.
There's being lots of that, yeah.
Yeah. So if you got high water and it's nighttime, you'd want to definitely pick a full moon. But yeah, no, it's doable. It's going to push you. It's not impossible. I know when I did mine, I felt I didn't pace it properly, and I always feel on any of my long paddles, as soon as I get to the perimeter, it's kind of my home court.
Right.
It's where I'm familiar, and that's where I just sink in. Even during the paddle challenge, I feel like as soon as I get to that perimeter bridge, it's always just I'm home. So
The
I
home
know the
stretch,
river,
yeah.
yeah, I know the currents, no problem. Whereas when I paddle the southern portions, I don't know the river as well. But the time that I did the 200, when I got to that perimeter, even though I was in that home court, I felt like I was just gassed. So that one,
Yeah.
I didn't prepare for it as well. I think I committed to that one last minute. It was just like, it's my birthday. I
It's
deserve
the
to be
way
on
they
the
go,
water
yeah.
for a full 28 hours. Off I go. But yeah,
So are you gonna try and beat your own record?
definitely. Definitely. I'll fire it up again one day. Like I say,
New
it's kind of
boat,
the
River Hawk, maybe?
the Riverhawk will do it. The logistics for me living here make it very simple. Just get a ride to the border, get dropped off. You don't have to worry about anything after that. You just got to make it home.
Yeah.
And then,
That's awesome.
yeah,
I think you should do it, but maybe wait till after the 1,000. See if you want to paddle after doing the 1,000. You might say, I'm done. I don't need to do anymore. I've had enough. Taking a year off.
yeah.
I
You know
can't
what?
see that happening with you.
I can't see that happening. I've had this conversation with my partner Darwin there, and there's all this talk, and I've been listening to podcasts of other people that have done the race, and there's obviously some marketing behind like the suffering and how hard this race is going to be. And I feel like this is going to get maybe a little too deep, but with the state of the world and all the news going on, escaping from all that in the Yukon for 6, 7, 8 days, that's going to be, it'll be a cakewalk compared to just everyday life. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think I view it that way. Maybe I'll have a different opinion once I'm on the river and, having to paddle 18 hours and sleeping in a tent and that kind of stuff. But,
Yeah. Well, I mean, on that race too, you're completely disconnected.
yeah,
There's
and
no.
that's what I say. I don't view, um, the hardship aspect as hard. Definitely you hurt, you'll have your aches and pains.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a sense of enjoyment out of that.
Yeah. Oh, you will hurt, and it will be great. That's really cool how you've gone from 44 kilometers to 1,600 kilometers in racing. Someone who's listening to this right now, they heard of this podcast through the Red River Paddle Challenge. Maybe they've done the race, or maybe they've never done the race, and they're interested in doing the Red River Paddle Challenge. Do you have any advice or words of wisdom for potential new paddlers who are potentially interested in trying a race like the Red River Paddle Challenge, or maybe even a larger race?
Be prepared to crawl down a very deep rabbit hole. Once you get a taste of it, it'll be everything it'll be all that you think about. Just jump in, get a boat. If it's a plastic boat and a cheap paddle, just start and then get to know that gear and then start trying the next piece of gear and try the next piece of gear. Just don't stop. Um, never turn down an opportunity to paddle with somebody that you can learn from. Don't ever be afraid that you won't be fast enough or that you don't know enough. I've been very fortunate in the whitewater end of things and in the ultra distance world, kayak racing, that kind of stuff, to have great mentors in my life, great friends that have taught me so much. And that just stems from not being afraid. You just got to jump in, even though, you can't be afraid to show that you don't know something, or, just try and keep up.
Yeah, no, and you've been one who's the paddling community in general is a great group of people. And in Winnipeg and Manitoba here, we have a small group of local paddlers. And it's cool how they've all sort of they communicate with one another, and they go out and they paddle and they borrow gear and they go out and travel to events together and stuff. And it's cool from my side. I've been involved with this race since it started, and just seeing that community grow. We have these online connections of the the Facebook group there, where people are coming in and posting questions. And I know you're one of the guys going in there and answering. Thank you for that. It's pretty cool to see how it's sort of changed from, we're coming up 8 years now, and I've seen change. Have you seen change? What have you
Oh,
noticed in the years you've done the race.
Yeah, definitely big time. Just coming into, like I say, coming into the race with like, I think the first year I was going to use a plastic boat, and then I was given, a carbon sort of more of a, like an expedition boat, definitely not a racing boat. And then I believe I got beat by David Holder, who was in a epic surf ski. So then it intrigued me. And then I stepped down, I started looking and purchased an epic, and you're starting to see more and more of that. But the racing community is definitely growing here. It's still a fraction of what you see down in the States. Heading down to Missouri, I was just blown away when I purchased my Riverhawk. Just an average day in the park there, you'll see 20 cars with V-racks on the top, and carbon sups and surf skis and kayaks and Riverhawks all out on the lake paddling. We're not there yet, but I feel we're getting there. I feel the Red River Paddle Challenge is pretty instrumental in that. It's giving all these people a safe environment to challenge and push themselves, so that they can start to venture out and do the FKP attempts and stuff like that. I think we've seen that with Jeff Blakeston, started in Red River Paddle Challenge. I believe he did a big route out in Ontario last summer, so that was awesome to see. Up until that point,
he's done the Minnesota race as well.
Yeah, he's done the Mississippi race as well. So yeah, we're starting to see more Manitobans go down for that race,
which is great when you want to travel as well, because then you have potential more travel partners to go to these things.
Split the gas.
How would you say that the Red River has shaped you as a paddler?
I mean, it's been an unbelievable training facility. Just having access to that type of water. For instance, right now, it's the spring thaw, and the current is just, it's as I like to say, she's roosting. So it's really given me the opportunity to paddle the racing boats in flow, dodging ice, dodging wood.
Dodging ice. Do you have any recent experiences paddling and dodging ice?
A couple of days ago, I guess you could say. And that was a sporty lap. We headed out there to do about a 30K paddle, did our due diligence, reached out to the community to ask about, certain locations. Is it ice free? I scouted we dropped a vehicle at the takeout point, scouted that. Everything was peachy, nice and ice free, beautiful day. And the night before, I had driven down Henderson Highway to check some other points just to make sure there was no big buildups of ice or anything. And I drove to Safe Patel Park, put on, and at some point, I think it was just below Provencher Bridge there, something broke loose. I'm assuming the Assiniboine.
Something big, yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of ice.
We found ourselves in a bit of a, I like to say, ice labyrinth or gauntlet. Yeah. That was exciting. We had 60K winds blowing from the side. At one point, coming up to the Provencher Bridge, that big gust came, and it was about 60K coming from it felt like southwest. I think it was supposed to be southeast.
Yeah, because it was pushing us right.
It was pushing us river right, and it was pushing all the ice there. And so in between the land and the first pier was a massive ice jam strainer, and you can always hear that gust of wind coming. It's coming. And I can see the ripples starting, and then it hits me. And I basically had to lean into a low brace just so I wouldn't get flipped over. But now I don't have the ability to paddle out of where the wind is pushing me, which is to that strainer. And it seemed like the water was flowing that way too. So I'm stuck in a low brace with my foot on my rudder, trying to take me left. And I'm just waiting out the gusts, knowing that's one thing in the prairies, the gusts always let up at some point. And I'm waiting, and I'm looking, and this strainer's coming closer and closer. And now I've got an audience of pedestrians that are going across the bridge going, look at the kayaker.
They had their cameras out, taking photos of us. Yeah.
Thinking, oh, this is beautiful. And I'm like, nope, I'm fighting for my life right now. And so thank God the wind let up. And then I was able to just start taking some power strokes. And I think I got to about that center section and away from all the ice. So yeah, it was entertaining.
Yeah, that definitely was a pretty spicy day. Lots of obstacles, and it's just crazy how we went in prepared, but yet we had to adapt and conditions change. They change quick, and they can change on any river.
Yeah.
So I'm being able to recognize that, and we made it through.
Yeah.
We found
I-
our path.
Yeah. I think at any given point we could have found a spot to take out.
Yeah.
But it never got to that point where I feel we had to make that decision.
You got a pretty big year coming up. We'll probably have to. Well, I'm sure people at the Red River Paddle Challenge will be able to hear all about your summer adventures. Yeah, we didn't talk about, but you have another whitewater trip this summer as well after the 1,000. Hey.
Yes, it's hard to keep track these days, but we have one coming. The whitewater boaters that I paddle with, good friends. Every year we pick a river somewhere in the world. It was primarily in Canada, but we've been expanding. So we'll be paddling the Marignan River in Peru in October, and I think it's something like 500 and something kilometers. We'll take 12 days to paddle that, but there'll be scouting involved and that kind of stuff, some portaging and that kind of stuff. So
That's going to be incredible.
yeah,
Make sure you take lots of pictures and videos, and you got to do a slideshow or something after. I don't know. I can't wait to hear about that. It's going to be awesome.
I'm sure there'll be a presentation.
Yes. Cool. Is there anything else you would like to share before we close out here?
I think maybe just a thank you on behalf of the Manitoba paddling community to you, Brad Friesen, for everything you do for the community, organizing the race. I think that's kind of the starting point for everybody, and like I say, it gives them all a nice, safe environment to really push themselves and connect with other paddlers. I think you're growing our community, and without all your hard work, you're not going to have that. You're not going to have that sense of community. So I know you're never shy to offer advice to anybody, and we are all benefiting from it. So that would be my only remarks, my friend.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I can contribute to the community. All right, I'm going to do some quick rapid fire questions for you. So, ready? Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite river snack?
Wild butter and jam bagels.
Woo, those are good. That was his secret on the MR 145 race.
That's correct.
All right. What's your most underrated piece of gear?
For multi-days, I have a little pump that blows up my my sleeping pad. You plug it into a little battery pack. Yeah. I absolutely despise blowing up thermarest, and
He's glamping.
this thing, oh yeah, it's tiny. It's well worth it.
What's your bucket list river trip
Ooh.
that you haven't paddled?
Yeah. I really want to do a trip up on Baffin Island. I've pitched it to the Whitewater crew, but it involves 67-kilometer hike to the put-in. So I'm still trying to butter them up on that one. I got to figure out how I'll convince them.
Maybe you should try the wow butter and jam on bagel. Okay, what's the hardest lesson you've learned on the water?
Yeah, the DNF. That's the hardest lesson. It's it'll haunt you in the moment. You think it's the right decision, but what it's taught me is to stay calm. I feel like I probably could have paddled myself out of that situation. I had lots left in the tank. You just got to stay calm. I think when you get nervous, that's when you slow down, and that's when things go wrong. Just stay calm. Trust your paddle. You're always a brace away from staying up.
Solid advice.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, this has been awesome. I mean, I get to chat with you all the time, but this is a little more formalized process. So thank you for sharing your story. And I know there's a lot more stories for you to share and more to come. So I can't wait to hear about it. Yeah. Well, on to the next adventure.
Okay. See you on the water, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sean, thanks so much for sharing your story and giving us a look into the mindset behind your adventures and your record-setting run on the Red River. Your passion for paddling and your connection to the Red River are what this show is all about. And to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in to the Red River Paddlecast. If today's conversation inspired you, there's no better way to experience this community than by being a part of the Red River Paddle Challenge. Whether you're racing for a personal best, paddling with friends, or taking on the river for the first time, it's an unforgettable day on the water. Registration is open, so check out the details, spread the word, and come be a part of something special. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the show, share it with your paddling friends, And stay tuned for more stories from the people who make our paddling community what it is.